Hello, I'm Dr. Manon Fielding with Holistic Strategies for Eternal Youth, and I'm very excited to bring some very important information to you today about Maca, M-A-C-A, because it is a very strong alternative to HRT for those of you who choose not to be on HRT because of the potential issues with it, or just want to go a more natural route, or maybe can't take HRT. So for a variety of reasons, people decide to find something more natural. And there are a number of different ones out there, and we have talked about some of them before, but today we're going to go into detail of Maca because it's fairly new on the scene, although it's been used for many, many, many years, but there hasn't been a lot of research on it until fairly recently. So we're going to talk today, we're going to give you the benefits, all the benefits of Maca that have been found. We're going to talk about the different types of Maca. We're going to give a strong review to two different research articles so that you can get an in-depth view. So this is going to be a little lengthier, and for those of you who really want to understand the benefits, how it actually works in the body, and so you can make an informed decision about whether this is something that will work for you. Okay, so let's start with what is Maca. So apparently it is a tuber, like a potato or something, a turnip. It looks a little bit like a turnip, and it actually comes in a variety of colors, which we're going to talk about in a minute or so. But it is native to the Andes Mountains of Peru. That's where most of it comes from, although it is also being produced in China. I don't know if there are any other places, but we're going to talk about the differences between those so you can get an idea when you're looking for Maca, what kind you want to look for. So I'm going to just start with giving you some specific benefits of it, and just kind of an overview. And then we're going to go into the research and talk a little bit more in depth. So Maca is nutrient rich. It has a lot of different nutrients of vitamins B, C, and E, calcium, magnesium, potassium, and iron. So it has a lot of vitamins and minerals, but and amino acids. It also has amino acids, and it really helps support overall health and very anti-aging. So not just helping with menopause, but it's also an anti-ager. So I especially love that. Antioxidant properties. So it contains a variety of different types of antioxidants, not just one kind. It has polyphenols, which are very powerful, and flavonoids, which you find a lot in vitamin C, for instance. These help to combat oxidative stress, which protects our cells and also prevents aging. So it helps us reverse some age-related diseases, which is also really great. It helps to balance hormones. So Maca itself is not estrogenic, and this is an important point that we're going to talk about further in the research, but it does not have estrogenic, like it's not a phytoestrogen, in other words, like isoflavonoids might be. It helps to balance the body, and it does help to increase your estrogen or testosterone if that is what your body needs. So it's called more of an adaptogen, where it helps to balance rather than increase it, even though it may increase it because your ovaries are not producing. You may find that your levels increase, but it's not basically putting estrogen in your system. In other words, your body is doing that. So in terms of menopause, let's talk specifically about that. So like I just mentioned, it has hormone regulating, modulating ability. It helps with bone health. So it's going to improve bone density. And that's not easy to find in any other products that I've looked at. Energy and mood. So it helps increase your vitality so that you feel more energized, which a lot of women complain about, and helps with mood regulation. So depression, anxiety, helps to elevate your mood and help you just feel better overall. So in terms of potential side effects, I did find that some women have trouble with digestion, but we're going to go into talking a little bit about how it's produced and the different types of products, and some of them are made to help reduce the digestive upset by certain processes that it goes through, makes it more digestible. So I will go into that as well. And any interaction. So it really hasn't been found to have a lot of interactions and side effects. It just need to be wary that that if your estrogen level kicks up too hard, it could potentially affect estrogen related breast cancer, although that has not been proven in any way, shape, or form. It's just a precautionary that they put in the literature and in the products so that you can be monitored or your doctor can decide whether it is right for you. There's also no standard dosage, and that's something that we're going to go into a little later, that it is very individual and very individualized because your lifestyle affects this. So are you exercising? Are you eating right? Do you generally have a good balance in your life? Are you taking other supplements and vitamins? So all of these factors play a role in what the dosage is. So I can't really just say you should take this dosage until I know more about you and we can make that decision. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the research. There was an article, and this one was from 2024. Oh, it just came out. I didn't even realize that. They talk about how all maca is not created equal. And one of the things that they mentioned is that because the Andes Mountains has very high elevation, so that the maca comes from that, it is a little bit harsher type of environment. And that actually helps make the maca more nutrient dense because the maca is hardier, let's put it that way. When it's produced in China, the soil is different and the environment is different, and it tends to have different qualities that may not be as beneficial. And this is still very new science because this is the first article I've seen that's been comparing it. But they did say that Chinese maca in general has been more adulterated, and it also can contain more heavy metals. So, of course, that's a very big concern. And it does appear that the Peruvian maca is more beneficial because it doesn't have this adulteration and doesn't have as much problem with the heavy metals. They have not found that is an issue at all with that. And that the vitamins, minerals, chemicals just seem to be a little bit stronger in the Peruvian version. Let's look at digestibility. And the Peruvian maca can be gelatinized, and gelatinization involves this process where they put it under high pressure, temperature, and moisture, and dry it and pulverize it into a powder. And it makes it much more bioavailable and more digestible. So that's one thing that you do want to look for when you go to purchase it. And also, there are different colors. So there's purple, yellow, black, and red in general, and there are different subcategories beyond that. But the red maca seems to be what is used most for menopause. And then, like I said, the gelatinized, which, if you don't have any digestive issues, this may not even be a problem for you, but personally I do. So that made a big difference for me, because I know when I had tried this years ago, I had tried one that was not, and it really did bother me. So it wasn't until I started doing more research at this point and working with a lot of women that are in menopause that I came across this understanding of that. Now, the Peruvians use it throughout their life. They use it as a drink, and it's something they incorporate all the time. And it helps them with their mountain sickness. It helps them with their immune systems. And they have different benefits from it because they've been taking it their whole lives. We're just taking it to help us at this point in our life. So even though it's not a phytoestrogen, it has the ability to increase our estrogen and progesterone levels. So that's very important. And it depends on the form that we're using. Like I said, the red maca seems to be more beneficial in terms of menopause. And there are also several chemopreventative compounds present in those forms, which means that it has the ability to prevent cancer and different kinds of cancer. So that's why I was saying that the chance of it causing or promoting anything connected with breast cancer are very, very slim because of the nature of all the physiological benefits and the components that make up maca. All right, let's see what else in this particular article. So that was most of what I got out of that article about the different types of maca and where it came from. And then I came across a really great article that this one came out in a little bit older in the late 2000s. And it's called the hormone balancing effect of pre-gelatinized organic maca. That's another thing to get, make sure you're getting organic and that that it's that kind. Now they used a particular type called Maca Go, G-O. I actually don't know what the G-O stands for, but when you look at different maca products, you'll see on the label that it says maca. So Maca Go had the benefit as acting as a toner of hormonal processes along the hypothalamus, pituitary, and ovarian balance. So it helps the communication network between your brain, your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and your ovaries, which means that it's more of a balancing factor than it is an estrogenic. That makes sense? And help relieve the symptoms because of that. And it had a very strong effect on reducing night sweats, vasomotor. So let's take a look a little more at that. So they looked at, there were 124 women that participated in this particular study. And one thing that was interesting too that I had read, it was a placebo cross study. So one group got the Maca Go, one got the placebo, then they switched it. And the ones that had the Maca Go, when it had a long-term effect that started with the Maca Go. So it didn't just end when they stopped the Maca Go, the Maca, I'll just say Maca, which is meaning that it's actually helping your body work better. A lot of supplements, you take them, and if you don't take them every day, you're not getting the benefit. But some that I recommend are, like the Maca, is something that gives more long-term benefit because it's helping your body work better. So like we were saying, the pituitary, so it helps the pituitary, the thyroid, the adrenal, and the gonadal axis. So the entire body hormonal system basically is what we're talking about. It also helped the serum lipids. Your good HDL, the good lipids, were higher, and the LDL, I think, stayed about the same, but the good cholesterol was higher. So that's really important to know. They looked at a bunch of different hormones, and I'm going to talk about how it affected the different ones. So this is an important benefit. It actually reduced the BMI. So it had a big effect on body fat and spared muscle. So people were in much better shape, and they didn't monitor or change exercise or anything like that. So women who are in better shape and are exercising or start exercising, they're going to get even more benefit, but you're going to help improve your muscle mass and reduce body fat on Maca. let's see, did not have a big effect on blood pressure. So that was not one of them. Actually did improve, and the T3 lowered T3 and elevated the estrogen. So it had a positive effect on thyroid function. And like I said earlier about the bone densities, and like I mentioned too, the residual effect, which was really pretty exciting. So in terms of how much they were taking, in this particular study, they were taking 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams. There were 500 milligram capsules. The healthier you are in general, the less you're going to need. So they recommend starting out with a smaller dose, like 500 to 1,000 to 1,500, instead of starting at 2,000 to 3,000. Some women are going to need more because their lifestyle has not been as good or as healthy. And hopefully, one of the things that I really encourage is that lifestyle is such an important part of our symptoms. The more symptoms you have, you can consider that you have a higher percentage of symptoms based because of your lifestyle. They say about 60% of menopause symptoms can come from our lifestyle. And Maca corrects a lot of that, but you won't need as much. So that's always a good thing. It eliminated hot flashes in as little as 4 days. Some people found that they were taking too high a dose and they had to reduce it. If you take too much, you're going to feel stimulated. And that's kind of one indicator. It's like if you drink too much coffee, you feel too much stimulation. So that's how you can tell. You want to feel balanced. You want to have lowered anxiety. You want to have good mood. You want to feel good, but you don't want to be stimulated. And that's one of the ways that you can tell how much to take. And if you feel that this is happening, and they also said that if you do take too much, your hot flashes may come back. So, I've heard women say things like that when they started taking like a phytoestrogen, that their hot flashes got worse. Well, that's because they didn't need that, or they didn't need as much. So those are ways that you can use to measure the effectiveness of anything you're doing. You could, in our culture, we always think more is better. If the doctor says take 1 aspirin, you're going to take 2 Tylenol or 2 ibuprofen. The dosage doesn't always have to be that high. We can reduce that. So they do recommend working with a health professional, because then they're going to help you be more of an objective view of how much to take and what to start with. And like I'm saying, more is not necessarily better. I did talk a little bit about calcium. So it does help to stimulate absorption of calcium and other key minerals in your diet, which is one of the reasons why it helps with improving your bone mass, preventing loss of bone mass, because it actually helps absorb those minerals better, which is really a great benefit. So that's an important thing, retaining those minerals. All right, and they talk a little bit about here, and a lot of people don't realize that some of the things in our diet that cause the osteoporosis, one of them is high consumption of soft drinks. And I actually found this out myself when I was younger, before I should have had any problems with osteoporosis or osteopenia, that I was causing a leaching of calcium because I was drinking Diet Coke. And when I found that out, I immediately cut that out. And my next bone density definitely was better. But Maca does help to increase that absorption, but you also need to watch your diet and not be doing things that kind of pull it out, because that's a very serious problem in menopause, especially with women who aren't on HRT, that the osteoporosis can become more and more pronounced, And some of it is diet, and some of it is the need for our supplementation. But it doesn't only increase our estrogen. That's not the only mechanism of improving bone density. It's also because it's helping absorb those minerals from your food. Let's see what else in this article. So the hot flashes and the reduced sweating, and another important one is the interrupted sleep pattern, nervousness, depression, headaches, and loss of libido. So all of those things were found to improve with the women that were taking Maca. And the thing that was interesting in this article is that they used an index that looked at many different symptoms that are associated, some that most women experience and some that maybe are not as prominent, but they improved on every single one of them. So let me go through that list again here. The most distinctive was the reduction in the frequency and severity of hot flushes, excessive sweating, interrupted sleep patterns, insomnia, nervousness, depression, headaches, and loss of libido. All of those things were significantly improved. Then they also talk about that it has an energizing ability, but at the same time keeps you calm, antidepressive effect, so you feel better, improved concentration and alertness, which I've heard a lot of women talk about brain fog, memory, those kind of things happening. Well, the Maca helped with all of that, and that's actually pretty amazing. And then they go on to talk about some of the other factors. So it improved the cortisol levels. So a lot of times, one of the reasons why you're having trouble with some of these symptoms is your stress level has been really high, maybe from work or family or other kind of stresses, and your cortisol level gets high. And that actually interferes with your sleep. So the Maca helps to reduce the cortisol at the same time that it's taking care of these other hormonal systems, and also reducing your blood sugar, because blood sugar variations are responsible for a lot of problems. I read recently that the fluctuations in blood sugar causing inflammation is a major factor in causing Alzheimer's disease and other memory disorders. So in balancing the blood sugar, that is a very important factor in slowing down our aging process in general and in helping with menopause. I did want to point out again, so it does not contain any phytohormones, which is plant hormones. It acts as an adaptogen rather than as a phytoestrogen. It's helping your body adapt to the stresses in your environment. It increases your body's resistance to a wide range of physical, chemical, and biochemical factors. So they say that it's an overall normalizing effect. So just making you more vital and able to handle the daily stresses in your life without it changing your system so much. You're not going to overreact. You're not going to get angry without understanding. And that was something that I also experienced during menopause, having an elevated or short temper, a short temper where I might react to something very quickly without being able to stop and count to 10, so to speak. I had to really work on that. And Maca does help with that effect. I'm going to read this paragraph here because I think it's important. The results obtained in this study give reason to conclude that acted as a toner of hormonal processes along the axis hypothalamus, pituitary ovaries, significantly stimulating production of estrogen without significant effect on progesterone. So the progesterone stayed about the same, with a simultaneous suppression of the FSH, TH, T3, cortisol, and adrenocorticotropic hormone levels. So all of those stayed in a good, were not depressed, but stayed at a significant level while it elevated the estrogen. So together with an increase in blood iron. So that's another thing that I've heard a lot of women, I didn't even realize this till recently because I didn't have that effect, but they have a problem with a reduced iron level. And this is all related to your hormonal balance, and they end up having to take more iron. So this increased the blood iron and improved the bone density index, as well as alleviating menopause symptoms. So they really feel like it's a very important non-hormonal alternative to HRT for balancing our ovaries, pituitary, thyroid, and adrenal hormones, and relieving symptoms of menopause discomfort, including hot flashes, night sweats, and an option in reducing dependence on HRT. So the great thing, I have always been a big proponent of finding things that you can get without a prescription. And if it works as well, or in this case, actually better, it works better than HRT because it covers more ground and it doesn't have the potential, like I was talking about, of causing side effects the way HRT does. So all in all, I feel very excited about the benefits of, in looking at the actual research and studies that have been done, that they all are really positive about the use of it. And so I do want to recommend that if this as a potential enhancer for you. I enjoyed this video and learned a lot about Maca. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be coming out with lots of new information on both menopause and anti-aging for women in our age group, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Namaste.